Hello everybody, this is Adam from Wheel Guns for Wheelmen, and I am here today, this glorious Christmas morning, to go over what I've acquired in 2024, and also do a year-end review of what interested me and did not intrigue me at all in the gun industry this year. And so, if you've already followed my channel, you know my acquisitions this year, and you can just skip ahead to probably the 3 or 4 minute mark. But for those of you who are new here, the most important acquisition this year was this new Lipsy's exclusive Smith & Wesson Ultimate Carry 6 rounds of 32 H&R Magnum. It's my new carry gun, and I love it. I got a second revolver this year, which seems appropriate given the channel name. It is the Taurus Public Defender, which is the polymer version of the Taurus Judge. So it shoots 2.5-inch 410 shotgun shells or 45 long Colt. It is a pretty cool gun. I will say that the trigger is a little heavy, but this thing is great for snake defense and also large predators because you have 5 shots. I used to carry a Derringer with a snake shot in it, 357. That's only 2 shots. Here you got 5 rounds, so you can do 2 shotgun shells, 3 45 long Colt, or vice versa, or whatever combination you want. It's pretty comfortable to carry on the hip. So that was my second acquisition. Third acquisition, moving into military surplus, which is the other thing I really like. Finally got a Makarov. It's a IMEZ, so it's from Russia, made in the Ishevsk factory, and still has most of the bluing, minus a tiny bit of holster wear up front. Has the cool Bakelite grips. I've taken it out twice now to shoot it. Shoots fine. Haven't had any malfunctions. Very minimal recoil. It's in 9x18 Makarov. It's not one of the 380 ACP import versions that they did. And the final acquisition that I want to talk about, it's also military surplus. It's also the only long gun that was on my wish list, so to speak. And this is actually a variant that was announced at SHOT Show this year. This was the Century Arms CA3. But what it is basically a PTR 91, because PTR made the receiver and maybe the barrel. And they made it because I'm guessing they can't import a real G3 and then try to render it semi-auto, so they had to do just a receiver. Though the markings are still accurate, so that's cool on the safety. So this, of course, would be the semi-auto version of the H&K G3 battle rifle, so 308 20-round mags. And the furniture, which is what makes this cool, furniture and some of the internals, the actual important operating parts, they come off of Portuguese G3s that have actually seen service, mainly in like peacekeeping missions in the Balkans and North Africa. But that's just a cool, fun piece of military surplus history. So furniture's just neat. And I've taken this out like 3 or 4 times now. It's performed flawlessly with multiple types of ammunition. So, moving on to the year-end review of just the gun industry. Not guns I've acquired necessarily, but just things I've seen and researched and determined are kind of stupid or quite intriguing. Let's start with the stuff that was not interesting at all. Cheap Glock clones. Most recently, Ruger releasing the RXM with so it's Magpul and Ruger collaborating to make their Glock killer. It's like $100 less than a normal Glock, and why would I want it? I just go with a Glock at that point. Or maybe I go with a Gucci Glock if I don't like a standard Glock. But I'm not going to get a Ruger Glock. Also, there's a lot of other cheap ones that are either clones or just Glock-inspired polymer striker-fired style pistols. You got the BCA Grizzly. Anderson made something similar looking to a Glock. You got a bunch of Turkish guns that are similar. You got like the G-Force something or other. That's kind of like a Glock. None of that's really interesting. Like if I'm gonna get a Glock that's not a Glock, it's gonna be probably a Bull Armory Tomahawk. Those are pretty cool. It has like these 5 ports on the barrel, and they just have cool grips, good grip angles, cool grip texturing. They're nice. I've handled them. I've never shot one, but I've handled them at the store. And there are a number of other higher end Glock clones. If I want something cheap, I just go with the PSA Dagger and buy a Glock Striker and throw it in there, because apparently those keep breaking, which not surprising for PSA. You get what you pay for. Second line of things that doesn't really interest me, Taurus's Executive Grade revolvers. Why? Why are you making a $1,000 revolver if you're Taurus? No one's going to want a $1,000 Taurus. If they have $1,000, they'll go get a Smith & Wesson Performance Center. Taurus should just stay in its lane, so to speak. I have nothing against Taurus. I just showed you that I have a Taurus that I purchased this year. It was like $400. It shoots shotgun shells. That's cool. It's cheap enough that I'll risk it. I'm not ever going to spend $1,000 on a Taurus revolver. So, yeah, they look nice. Maybe they're worth it, maybe they're not. I'm not going to risk it. It just seemed like a odd choice for them. Taurus does have some pretty cool, unique revolvers. They have some that are like a 380 ACP little snub nose with a bobbed hammer. They have a 17 HMR, like 6.5 inch barrel that you can put a scope rail on. It's aftermarket, but no one else really has a 17 HMR revolver for, I guess varmint hunting or plinking. So they have some cool things. But generally, and of course the Judge is cool. But generally speaking, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a Taurus. Third thing that really didn't interest me, like I feel kind of bad saying that it didn't interest me. I feel bad trying to put on the same list as the other two, because this is actually kind of cool. Diamondback released the SDR, the self-defense revolver. It looks decent. However, comes in at the same price as the Kimber K6 XS, which I would much rather just buy the Kimber at that point, because it also looks like a nice revolver. And you could have a Ruger LCR, which is what I would recommend for a snub nose over any other brand, especially a Diamondback. It's their second revolver, I think. They made some sort of like 22 WMR swing out cylinder single action revolver like a couple years back, I think. But yeah, I'm not gonna spend like $600 on a Diamondback revolver when I could just go buy a Smith & Wesson or a Ruger for that price, or Kimber. So those are the things that didn't really interest me. Things that intrigued me, but that I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about because I don't know too much about it, and I might not actually get them. But that do intrigue me are 21 Sharp. I always like to see a new cartridge. I understand why they did it. The 22 long rifle is an odd cartridge where the bullet sits on the actual rim of the shell casing instead of being seated down into it, with the rim being here and the bullet being just seated in and wedged in. That's not how it works for a 22 long. So I guess maybe you have easier time making bullets or more options for your bullets, supposed to improve accuracy. We'll see. Probably won't catch on if I had to guess. I don't see many 17 Mach 2s, for instance. Guessing it's going to be kind of like that. But, more power to them. Winchester, that is, who made it. Second thing that interests me, or intrigues me rather, but I'm not really going to probably buy, Kimber 2K11. Kimber made its big introduction just recently into the 2011 game, or at least a double stack 1911, for competition. They had a different one that's made for carry that came out like last year or maybe even 2022. But the 2K11 is a race gun, so to speak. 2011 competition style pistol. It has really cool bronze slide and accents, but it's a Kimber, and I don't really trust Kimbers. Just given people I know having issues and people online having issues, I probably won't buy one. The only Kimber that I've ever fired worked fine, but that's a sample size of one compared to what I've seen from others. Also, big shout out to Uintah Precision, which is out of Duchesne, Utah, a little town kind of towards the Colorado border, so east of Salt Lake. That they make really cool bolt action AR-15 uppers, and you just drop them on a standard AR-15 lower, and they have one chambered for the new cartridge 22 ARC. I think it's advanced rifle cartridge. You should check it out. It's basically like a 22 250, but with more retained energy and less susceptibility, if that's a word, to wind drift at about 400 to 500 yard range. So if you're a long distance varminter and you have an AR lower, you should buy the upper, test it out. Seems like a cool thing. Now, things that interested me this year. This, I put in an order 17 minutes after the notification went out by Lipsy's. Luckily, I was checking my phone and just came across it randomly, and I also had someone at SHOT Show that could just go run down and place the order, so to speak. So, because there was only one of 4,000, at least for the first batch. So I got that. Super interested, and I like it. Smith & Wesson killed it this year because they also, speaking of pocket guns like that snub nose, released the Bodyguard 2.0, so to speak. Or actually, it might be the Bodyguard 2.0. I think they actually had a Bodyguard semi-auto that was a old single stack, kind of like a Ruger LCP. But the new Bodyguard 2.0, let's say, is a 10 round, so it's competing with the LCP Max. And it's so much nicer than the LCP Max. The trigger is, at least, and the grip texture and the slide serrations. I've handled one. I haven't shot one, but at the store, it's night and day better than the Ruger LCP Max. And so, seems to have killed it in the carry market. So good on Smith & Wesson. Langdon Tactical released the PX4 GSD. Look it up. It's a PX4 with a flared magwell and a cool compensator thing that goes on the flashlight rail, and then it has its own rail, so you can still add a flashlight to it. But it looks really nice. It's like over $2,000, but I've always liked the PX4. Every time I shoot them, I'm always impressed. Very low muzzle flip. Recoil impulse is kind of wonky, so it kind of throws you off at first, but I think if you got good with that, and that was like your only gun or only platform, because they also make a compact that you could carry with like stealth decocker levers and stuff. If you just focused on the PX4 platform, you'd be really, really accurate and really good and have a really good gun or two. So check that out. As for rifles, there are two, and this video is getting long, so I'm just gonna wrap it up. Last two things. 8.6 blackout. Just watch the gel block tests. It seems like a really cool cartridge. I'm all geeking out with the 1 in 3 twist rate and the effects of it, at least on gel. It's cool. It intrigues me for sure. I would love to have a Q boombox. I love Q. I like the suppressors. I like the cartridges. Everything about it is just cool. Their bolt action rifle is pretty cool. Pricey, probably can't afford one, but would love one. Something I can afford and what I will be trying to get next year is the last thing on the list, the Savage Revel. It's lever backwards. I'm also guessing it's like revolutionary, kind of the play on the two words. And it's revolutionary because there's just two push pins, kind of like on an AR, that you just pop out, and then you can take the action and stock away from the fire control group and stock away from the barreled action and the fore end. And that way you can take it down, just throw it in a backpack. It takes like 10 seconds, it looks like, from the ad. And so that, super interesting. Only in 22 right now, but Savage says next year, in 2025, it will be in 17 HMR and 22 Magnum, and I want a 22 Magnum lever action. Been wanting one for like 2 years, just because I don't have any. I used to have a Keltec CMR 30, and I liked that gun until it broke, and then I got rid of it in a fit of anger, so to speak. I was like, no, I'm not dealing with Kel-Tec anymore. They did fix it. Kudos to them and their warranty service. But I want a 22 Magnum rifle, and so I'm going to get the Savage Revel. And that's going to be next year's long gun purchase, most likely. Anyways, thanks for sticking through to the end. If you did, please like and subscribe. Next year, there should be even more content. We'll be trying to do even more shooting content next year, specifically videos where I'm walking around hitting the 1,000 round mark, so to speak, and shooting steel and paper and everything, doing drills for like 10 minutes just to show you how the gun actually works and how easy it is to use in the hands of someone like me. I'm not a really great shooter. I'm kind of average, an average for the person who shoots monthly, I would say. I come in like 7 out of 14 at like the local USPSA pistol matches, and I run production, and that's including open division people and stuff. That's just out of the 14 total people. So I'm not the worst. I'm definitely not the best. The good people are way better than me. Go watch like The Humble Marksman or Honest Outlaw if you want to see that type of content. But for the average Joe, which most of you are probably if you're watching this, hopefully my stuff's a decent representation of what you can expect. Now, lastly, if you have any questions, even if they don't pertain to any of the guns I just talked about, feel free to just ask them. This is a great video to just leave comments asking questions about anything you want me to answer. So anyways, thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.